someone got up and was like, "Hello, Tom, you're very handsome." We were like, okay, that's not a question. And then another person was like, "Hi, Tom, just so you know, I call you King Papi Chulo."
To be a moderator at a con, you are like the teacher and the fan and the question asker and the bodyguard. Tell us all about the Game of Thrones official fan convention, because that is very, very cool. And you were it was you and Greta, right?
It was Greta and I. This was the first time we'd ever met in person, which was wild. Here's the thing. I don't know if this happens to you, but when you meet people for the first time in the COVID era, I don't know about you, but it doesn't even register almost anymore. It feels like we have met. Like with you and I, the first time we met in person, I was like, somebody mentioned, "Oh, it's the first time you guys are meeting." I was like, oh yeah. It just feels
cool.
Yeah, like almost like it feels so normalized now. Anyway, it was the first time Greta and I had met in person, and it was just. I got to see old friends. Our friends from History of Westeros, Aziz and Ashaya were there, which was wonderful. They were covering the whole thing. Kim Renfro from Insider was there. And it was just so fun. We were just like hanging out in the green room, and like this one fun moment where like Esme Bianco was there, who played Roz.
The best.
In the first 3
one
seasons
of my all-time
of Game
favorite characters.
And then Daniel Portman, who played Podrick Payne, a.k.a. Sex God Pod, came in, and they started catching up. And, like, Greta and I are pretending like, oh, this isn't cool. We're just This
is just normal.
We're just, like, hanging out. And Esme was like, "Oh, did you live? Did you make it to the end?" He's like, "Yeah, I did. I made it. I lived all the way to the end of the series." All these like fun little moments occurred. It was great seeing everybody in costume. And then I was really just like pleasantly surprised at how generous everybody was with their answers. We interviewed Kit Harington. Ever heard of him? The famous Jon Snow, a.k.a. the bastard of Winterfell, a.k.a. the King in the North, a.k.a. the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. And he was just like so wonderful with his answers, took time with all the audience questions. You could really sense how important like connecting with these people was to a lot of the fans who got to ask their questions, just like how delighted they were to see everybody. There was a great moment where we were interviewing Patty, who plays King Viserys, and Steve Toussaint, who plays Corlys Velaryon. And I don't think Patty had fully realized like how beloved Viserys was after this season, because we had been talking for a little while, and I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about that incredible scene in the throne room where Viserys comes in to defend his daughter. And just like the crowd exploded at the mention of it. It was
I love that.
Oh, this is a funny thing. So we're there for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By Sunday, listen, it's great fun, but I'm beginning to get like a little
You were like
toasty
napping
around
on the floor.
So what happened was we had a panel. And I forget what it was. But we had like an extra 15-minute break on top of our existing 15 minutes because Greta was like introing some behind-the-scenes video. So I went up to the green room where all the talent was. Like everybody from the cast was in there, and various people who were also like handlers and Alfie Allen's manager and stuff like that. So it was like I go in there and all the there's like 4 round tables, and all the seats are taken because it's like Kit Harington sitting there, Alfie Allen is sitting there, Daniel Portman is sitting there, like fucking Jack Gleason. Like, so I go and lay on the ground to just kind of like relax for a little while. Next thing I know, I fall asleep, and I wake up to one of the convention people being like, "Oh my God, we've been looking for you. And like we've come in this room like 4 times, and this is the first time we sleep." So I was like out in the open. Like if you take 4 steps into the green room, and by the way,
you can see
it was the same. It was where were we for the LA Comic Con? We were at 402.
Yeah, it was in there.
We were 407, so we were literally like down at the end of the hall, and if they would have taken 5 steps or 3 steps into the room, it would have been obvious that I was right there, but they didn't do that. So they missed me like a million times. And so I woke up and I hear the music for the panel going on, and they're like, it's starting right now. Do you want to like run on stage? I'm like, no, that would be fucking weird. I guess I just missed this one. And so it was the Patty's like solo panel, which I watched from the side of the stage. It was really fun. He came out like tottering on a invisible cane, you know, when they opened the doors. He pretended to like totter out like Viserys. That was super fun. It was a really great time. Like everybody was clearly so excited. You know, it's whenever someone gets up on the mic to ask a question and their voice is shaking, it's like, wow, it's you realize like how this series really just means a lot to people. And again, everybody was really, really great with their, you know, in answering the questions, and it was just a fun time. I love cosplay. I love conventions. I loved it all. I got a Corlys and Viserys Funko Pop. Not a single Funko. I got 2 Funko Pops. A Corlys and a Viserys. Yeah. Now Viserys without the golden mask, but it's like younger Viserys. But it was really fun. It was a great time, man. It was a long time, but it was really, really fun. And it was cool to see how much it meant to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first ever official Game of Thrones fan con, right? Which is why you had so many unbelievable... That was like a stacked cast of guests.
Oh,
it was everyone you could want to be there. I mean, Kit, like,
holy shit, there he is. It's fucking Jon Snow.
It's the
and you never know what to do, you know? Like our friend Kenny, who is my manager, was like... He was there for day one because his wife is Daniel Portman's rep, and you know, just there to support Greta and I, and you know, like Alfie Allen is there, and Jack Gleason were there, and Tom Glencarney was there, you know, who plays Aegon the Elder. And he's like, oh, you go say hi to the Dalai. I was like, you introduce yourself before the panel. You got to do that. You make sure that, you know, they know who you are and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to bother them. It's like so, they're just like having, you know,
it's always the balance.
It's the balance. But everybody was like super, super sweet and super charming. There were some really thirsty asked questions at times. Like there was,
sure.
Oh my God, I had Tom. It's interesting. Day one, the original setup was Greta and I were going to like, you know, like trade off panels, and certain bigger panels we'd do together just to kind of save our energy. But then we got to the end of day one and did the panel together, and we're like, let's just do all the panels together. It's so much better and so much easier. But so originally day one, I did Tom Glencarney just by myself. And someone got up and was like, the first question was, hello, Tom, you're very handsome. We were like, okay, that's not a question.
Yeah.
And then another person was like, hi, Tom. Just so you know, I call you King Papi Chulo.
Dude, truly, to be a moderator at a con is like you are like the teacher and the fan and the historian and the question asker and the bodyguard. At New York Comic Con, I did a movie premiere, and one of the people, I should have stopped before the last question. But the last question, the guy came up, and Jake Lacey was in the movie. It's this really fun movie called Significant Other with Micah Monroe and Jake Lacey. And the last guy came up and just made some really weird comment about how lucky Jake Lacey was that he'd like rolled in the hay with some hot woman who wasn't even in the panel. Like I think it was Jessica Chastain or something. And I had to be like, let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean.
Let's keep it moving.
And everyone was like, I could just be like, I was like, well, I should never have let that last guy ask the question.
Yeah,
but that's always the way. People are excited to talk to these people.
People are so excited.
But it's that balance. It sounds like it was respectful thirst at the Game of Thrones.
It was
mainly
kind. Respectful for thirst. There was like a 0.5% of like things that were like okay, but it was a very respectful thirst. When the questioner was like, "I call you King Papi Chulo," Tom was like, "What's that mean?" He like leaned over to us. What's that mean? I was like, "Oh, that's like it's like a very handsome guy, basically." He's like, "Oh, okay." There was, and forget it for Podrick Payne. Because who of course, you know, Sex God Pod, he made the 8. He, you know, the Whores of King's Landing were giving him rolls in the hay for free, etc. They were
giving him money.
They were giving him money. There were so many questions about so what do you think he did? What do you think it was that?
What was the backstory that you created? What was Pod's specialty?
Yeah, what was it?
Oh
it was like, oh my gosh! But it was a wonderful fun time. Absolutely fun time.